would like to welcome everyone who joined us for the live webinar with Garra Esports. My name is Adina, and I'm a director at Emerging Markets Capital that is hosting this event. Today, we're going to talk about esports industry and video gaming industry, particularly in the Latin American region. So just to remind you that this webinar is for informational purposes only. So Garra Esports is newest and leading Latin American esports, media, and entertainment conglomerate. So as you might know, the esports industry is booming right now, and our speaker, Roberto Canovas, the CEO of Garra Esports, will share his insights. And he's a founder and CEO of GameSpot Technologies in Mexico, has over 10 years experience in Latin American gaming industry, working previously for Electronic Arts Latin America as managing director. He also holds an MBA degree from Melbourne Business School. Our agenda today, so Roberto will deliver the presentation first, and then we will have a gaming house tour so you can see everything from inside. And we do encourage you to ask you any questions you might have. We will have a Q&A session at the very end. So please type them in the Q&A box, or you can also drop me an email to adina@emarcap.com. So with this, I'm handing it over to Roberto.
Every time they're asking out there, how do you approach the Gen Z consumer? How do you approach the Centennial? The answer is gaming, esports, music.
The new generations are consuming entertainment in a different way than the previous generations.
Gaming is something that basically arrived to stay.
Esports is kind of like the up-and-coming platform.
Esports in North America is already a little bit more mature, but here in Latin America we have an open canvas and a tremendous opportunity both to grow a business in Mexico and the rest of Latin America, but also we have a tremendous opportunity to participate in the capital markets in Canada, where a lot of esports companies have gone public over the last 2 years, tremendously successful. So we're excited about starting Garra Esports, and we do think we have some bright days ahead of us.
We do know that they like gaming, everybody's into gaming. However, how does gaming get consumed? It is not a one channel, it is not a one platform deal. It is a multi-platform, multi-personality, multi-vertical approach that is needed to be able to contact and engage with this consumer.
I think brands started to realize that this is a place that they need to be.
When you look at the Asian markets, when you look at the European market, maybe the US market, they have 10, maybe 15 years advantage in terms of esports and what's being created there.
As investor and entrepreneurs, we invested in an esports company in Hong Kong 3 years ago. And that company, as part of our investment, we got to see that company grow. And we just realized how new the sector is. And in Asia specifically, it really took off perhaps a little bit sooner than Latin America. We think that the same dynamics that are at play in Asia are going to be at play in Latin America, with the difference that the market in Latin America, excluding China and Japan, is much bigger than in Asia. So we think this is the right time, and we're excited to start Garra not just in Mexico, but for the rest of Latin America.
The scene in Latin America is completely in the beginning. It is growing fast every single year for the last 5 years, double digit, triple digit in some instances.
Most of the brands, consumer brands or endemic brands, are jumping in to find a way to connect with all these 250 million consumers that we have in Latin America that play video games.
There's a huge opportunity today to be joining the esports arena, now that it's early, to get this huge exponential growth that we're seeing early on.
I think that the most interesting part of the Garra business model is that it's coming from a financial model itself. So it's prioritizing the financials of the team, so that is going to give like a strong institutional support, especially for brands.
This is where Garra is participating, and this is where we are equipping ourselves to be extremely successful.
Exactamente en 1.20 segundos después de haber marcado.
Within Garra, we have people that have been in the gaming industry for a long period of time and know what they're talking about.
Hola muchachos, ¿cómo están? Soy Fibor, jugador y coach profesional de FIFA. Para la temporada de FIFA 22 voy a estar formando parte del equipo de Garra Esports.
Not only that, but we're surrounded by advisors, both from Asia and other regions, that help us understand the esports and its sensitivities and its pitfalls in a lot of details.
Besides my role in Garra as advisor, I also work for our organization called Gaming Partners. Gaming Partners is a group of companies that basically specializes in different services on the gaming sector.
So our team really puts us apart from the get-go. We are part of a 3-company group. Within Garra, as the esports company, we have Ignite, which is a digital marketing agency, and we have Effects Films, one of the biggest and best audiovisual content generator companies in the country. When you put these 3 companies together, it puts us on a perfect position to be generating the content that audiences want to see and be able to generate the quality and the quantity that they're expecting, and using our marketing and the right marketing channels to be able to put that content out there to these specific audiences. Creating content verticals alongside esports becomes critical. At this point in time, we are creating at least 5 verticals. That includes lifestyle, health, informal gaming, professional gaming, and technology. All of this content is clearly linked into esports, but provides a much larger ecosystem to be able to talk to a larger audience and therefore have better opportunities for our sponsors to connect with the people that they want to be talking to. We are also multiplying our reach by engaging with a network of influencers that have already established audiences that can multiply our message to the Gen Z audiences out there. Good morning to everybody over there. I do believe everybody is, it's morning for most of our audience today. So good morning to you, and good night to everybody that might be a little closer to me on this side of the world. Thanks very much for joining us for this webinar. Thank you, Adina, and for the introduction, and thank you for the invite to be talking to you today, to the team at eMarkup. I'm Roberto Cánovas. I'm CEO for Garra Esports, and I have the opportunity of talking to you over the next 30-35 minutes. I will be presenting a little bit about Garra and who we are and why it is, we believe, a beautiful opportunity at this point in time to join us in building this esports organization that shall become referent in Latin America and the preferred channel to connect with younger audiences. After these 30-35 minutes that I will be spending on these few slides, we will play a little video. We used to do it live, but sometimes internet can be deceiving. So we've sort of pre-recorded a tour of our gaming house back in Mexico City, and we will be sharing that with you so that you can have a look, as Adina mentioned, inside the house. I meet a couple of the people that live there and are winning tournaments right now over there. Then we'll pass it on to questions. Please, during the presentation, feel free to raise your hand or use the chat box to send any questions to Adina. So anyway, let's get into it. What is Garra Esports? A first mover advantage into Latin America's esports arena. Right now, as we will see during the presentation, there's hardly anything happening in terms of esports. Organizations are hardly professional, so it's a prime opportunity to come in and have the first mover advantage into this market. What are we? We're a uniquely equipped team that has a solid foundation. As you heard some of my colleagues talking during the presentation, we were born from a structure, from a financial structure, from an organizational structure, in different to every other esports organization and community in Latin America. 95% of esports communities in Latin America were born through gamers. So a couple of young people, they were good at some game or other. They started participating on small tournaments, winning a couple $100, then maybe some other tournaments winning a couple of $1,000. And currently 95% of the organizations within esports are built and have survived just like that, with young people competing. And although that is absolutely fantastic, one of the biggest problems right now is that for those young guys to be able to professionalize their teams and create real organizations that can really take the connection that they have with the audiences and deliver that to brands as sponsors, that's where they have failed perhaps still to meet the standard and be able to create something of reference in Latin America. So we do have the advantage of having been created with people that having a long time in the industry with long experiences within gaming and esports. And that really puts us apart from everybody else. We understand esports. Adina mentioned a little bit of my background. I've been in the gaming industry for about 13, 14 years, maybe at this point in time. So I've done a little bit of everything. I started with Electronic Arts. I was managing director for Latin America with Electronic Arts. So I know very well the developers and the guys that are creating the games, creating the esports, creating the tournaments. But then I moved over to Mexico specifically to manage distribution, retail, to be a consultant specifically within gaming, and as of late also creating my own startup related to video games. So I've done pretty much a little bit of everything, and I'm not alone in this mission. I am surrounded by advisors. I will talk about a couple of them that have been around for quite a while, not only around the gaming and the esports arena, but also around the capital markets arena, which is extremely important for something like the mission we have today, to be able to build this organization and really create the reference in Latin America. So this team will allow us to build the plans, to build the understanding about the industry, the environment, the ecosystem, and really be able to connect those gaming consumers that are out there in the millions, over 260 million in Latin America, with the brands that currently desperately need to be talking to these younger consumers and have not found the vehicles and the tools to be able to connect with the millennials, with the Gen Z consumers out there. Finally, we're able to create this best-in-class entertainment content. I discussed a little bit and I presented a little bit in the video about the 3 companies that we have. Garra Esports, it has the players, the coaches, the tournaments, the excitement, the drama, the stories. Then we have Effects or Films. This company has been around for a while. It has about 15 years of existence, and it is referent in the Latin American market about audiovisual creation and production. So we also have the company to bring those assets from Garra Esports and transform them into quality digital content. And finally, we have Ignite. Ignite is a company based in Hong Kong. And this third company specializes on digital marketing and engagement. So the assets, Garra Esports puts them in, Effects or Films transform those assets into stories, into content. And then this content is taken by Ignite and connecting to the audiences that want to engage with gaming and follow gaming. The over 260 million of those that exist within Latin America. So we're ready for that, to create the entertainment content as the basis for what we're about to do. So what's our mission? Specifically, what are we inviting you guys to join us in doing? We want to create the best known esports and gaming media organization in LATAM, as easy as that. And then take this esports organization and shape it into a platform that allows brands and younger audiences to connect and to engage. That right there is the holy grail today. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Why is it an interesting investment opportunity? Well, firstly, because it will give you access to the gaming and Latin American market. It will give you exposure to the big growth, to the exponential growth that we have seen within the market, to these big audiences consuming and consuming. I like to tell, and sort of this statistic, if you take all of Hollywood, all of the movie industry, the literature industry, the TV industry, the theater industry, and you put it all together, you would have to duplicate the value of the sales of all these industries together, and you wouldn't even then match the value and the revenue that gaming is creating around the world. That is the size of gaming, $180 billion every single year. So that's exactly where we are, and we continue to grow at double digits. So certainly a big and exciting industry that is expected to continue to grow over the next few years. Why? because every time more young people are watching gaming, are doing gaming, are enjoying gaming, and watching other people do gaming. So anyway, certainly a high growth market that merits the attention and the importance of investors. Second, Latin American esports. We are, as I mentioned, we are well underdeveloped in terms of gaming. There's hardly any organizations happening. There's no professionalization, and that opens up just huge opportunities for new entrants that know what they're talking about into the industry. We provide a 360 solution, and we're ready with the 3 companies. We provide the 360 solution for brands to connect to audiences, for brands that are looking for vehicles and ways to engage with the youth. Well, we'll be able to provide that as the esports organization, as Garra. And finally, you will get the opportunity to have a diverse team with extensive experience, as I mentioned, capital markets, esports, Latin American video gaming, content production, studios, digital marketing. We have a good team. We have a solid team that is able to deliver these gains and this mission to you. We will split our presentation in four sections. I will talk a little bit about the problem or the opportunity, as you want to say it. What exactly is it that we're trying to solve? Then I will talk a little bit more about the gaming and the esports industry. Thirdly, I will talk about Garra and talk to you a little bit more in depth into what exactly is it that we have done already and what exactly is it that we are working internally to be able to deliver. And I will close with the financials before going into the tour. So let's talk about the problem. I would like to draw your attention to the right side, to those bar graphs that I have there. So you will see we have 4 bars: Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X, and Baby Boomers. And that is exactly what they're consuming in terms of entertainment. That's the time that they're spending in each of the different platforms. So you will see, much to the sadness of my wife and many other people across the world, reading has reduced from occupying 18% of baby boomers' time to only 11% of Gen Zs or millennials. At the same time, TV, broadcast TV, open TV has gone from 35. That's exactly the time. So third of the time of entertainment by baby boomers is spent watching TV. Fourth of the time for Gen Xs like myself. And then for the younger generation, that has come down to 15, 17% of their time. If you think about it for a second, how many times, if you have kids, if you have nieces, nephews, how much time are they really spending watching open TV? Really is closing down to zero, perhaps not reading a lot. What are they doing? Well, they're really consuming everything of their entertainment in these little devices here. They're just swiping 5-second little chips of entertainment that they're consuming. That's exactly what they're doing. And we see that reflected in the red numbers right here. So as baby boomers, we're only spending 10% of the time playing video games, 8% of the time doing social network, 25% of the time of Gen Zs of their leisure time is spent playing video games, and an extra 18% doing social networks. So the time that they're spending here, whether they're streaming their movies or not here, certainly more than half of their time is spent here. And what are they doing? They're playing video games. They're watching other people playing games. They're watching other people commenting on video games. They're watching tournaments. They're doing a number of different things, but certainly they're not consuming the media that the older generations were consuming. And they're not doing it necessarily in the same way at all. And that really becomes a problem. That becomes a problem for brands. I remember my first sort of professional years I spent in Mexico City working with Procter & Gamble, doing marketing for detergents. And back then, it was absolutely easy to talk to your audiences. All you needed to do, you need to give your media advisor, you need to tell them exactly what was the segment that you were talking to. And they would tell you, well, you need 20% in TV, 15% in newspaper, 30% in magazines, and they would give you this complicated formula that they would do simple for you and tell you exactly what you needed to be buying and where you needed to be buying it to talk to the right consumer. That is currently absolutely impossible. The way these guys are consuming, as I mentioned, 5-second mini interactions, and they're consuming Instagram, and then 5 seconds of a TikTok something, and then 5 seconds of a little video in YouTube, for an interaction in Discord, for an interaction in Twitch. How do you do that? If you are Nestle, if you are Mercedes-Benz, if you are Nike, how do you buy that? How do you put your brand out there in all of those different interactions? And we see a little bit of what's happening right now in the graph to your right. If you look at the time spent in TV, 8%, this is only younger generations. If you look at time spent, only 8% of their time is spent in TV, 21% of their time is in streaming, 37% of their time is spent in gaming. If you compare that to the expenditure from brands, from the big advertisers, 59 billion a year are spent in TV, 15 billion a year in streaming, 1.5 billion in gaming. There's huge imbalance between where the audiences are and where the money is going. And that imbalance is just being corrected as we speak, and over the next few years, that imbalance will certainly be corrected. But what is the main problem? Companies do not know how to invest in gaming. I mentioned that I'm also a consultant for a number of big companies. Over the last 12 months, I've been giving advice to Nestle, Procter & Gamble, and Danone, big, huge consumer companies. And the question that they've given me to answer is exactly the same for the three companies. Whenever they are doing the research and asking, how exactly do I engage with my consumer, with my target segment, the answer comes back the same. The passion point of the younger consumer today is gaming. The passion point is gaming. And that's the moment when marketers look at each other and go like, how do I do that? How do I spend my money? How do I approach? How do I get myself, my brand into gaming? And that's exactly what we want to do. That is the problem that Garra wants to solve. Important to note, not everybody is just beginning. There's a number of big brands that are already participating in esports. That includes Unilever, Nestle, Danone, BMW, Intel, Nike, Adidas, Red Bull. The innovative, the bold, they're already doing it. The rest will certainly follow. So what does the gaming and industry looks like? Now that we've spoken about the problem, how do we connect with those audiences? The big brands thinking, oh, how do we do gaming? Well, let's think about gaming and let's try to understand gaming before I tell you about the solution. So as an industry, the number of players are already in the billions. For 2024, it's expected that 3.5 billion players will be around the world. Now, you might be thinking about, so I'm not a player, I don't own a console, I might not be playing on my PC, so am I really a gamer? 70% of the revenues of gaming are coming from mobile gaming. So this is the new real video game console right here. 70% of the revenue that companies are creating within gaming is coming from mobile. So that's where it is. So if you enjoy maybe the 5-minute session of Clash of Clans or the 5-minute session of Candy Crush or any of these little games that might keep you entertained for a few minutes, then yes, certainly you're a gamer, and that would probably be a passion point for you. And that's how we get to 3.5 billion by 2024. Almost 1 in 2 humans in the world are already doing gaming in some way or another. But moving on to the right of the slide there, not only gaming is growing and it's already large. If you look specifically at esports, for 2022, we are expecting 645 million people enjoying esports. That not only includes the esports enthusiasts that follow the leaders and that are every week looking at the games and the tournaments and seeing who's where in the tables, but it also includes 347 million of occasional viewers that are starting to enjoy more and more the esport industry. If you look at the growth rates on audiences on esports, it's double digit, but not only double digit, you see 18s, 15, 40% CAGR over the last few years that are expected. And if you look at 2022, we even see a bit of an accelerating trend moving forward. So certainly something happening. I was in a similar call with a few Australian investors a couple of weeks back, and somebody mentioned, I have 4 kids of my own, so I know this. But it was interesting because the Australian investor was saying, hey, I know what you're talking about. And he just moved his mobile phone where he was connecting to this conference. He just moved the camera, and there was his kid on a chair, and it says, well, he's been playing there for 2 hours. So I know what you're talking about. These young people, that's really how they're spending their time. And certainly it is very complicated to get into that mobile phone, into whatever it is that they're doing at that exact moment. and be able to reach them. So certainly a lot of these young guys doing esports and doing gaming. But it's not only about the audiences. Certainly revenue is important. As I mentioned, $180 billion in 2021. Yeah, that's the expectation. Whether it's mobile, PC, you can see mobile there, 59%. PC, console games, it's all in there, $180 billion with a two-digit CAGR. So if you look at the last 10 years, it's been 10% growing steadily. So not only a large industry, but also one that is still growing fast and enthusiastically. What about revenue in esports to your right side? Well, it goes there again. And if you look at those CAGRs right there, 22, 26, 32% growth year on year, those are very, very enthusiastic numbers for esports. One other thing to notice right there, if you look at esports, if you look at 80% of the revenue that is being generated, that's the blue, the dark blue bit at the bottom, the big one. Brand investments and revenues. So where is the revenue coming from? What's the real business here? Is it about winning the tournaments and winning these big $1 million prizes? Yeah, it's not really about that. We're excited if our guys win, and we certainly hope that they will be winning. But those winnings will go back to them, and that's the best way to incentivize them and make sure that they're winning. We are about the sponsors. We are about being able to connect with those audiences and monetizing those audiences to really fulfill and solve the problem that we have identified specifically. And as you can see from these numbers, that's evidently related there with such a big percentage coming really from brand sponsorships and media rights. It's all about the audiences. So what about the ecosystem? How easy is it to do that? Why is it that most teams in Latin America, and I might say the world, have not yet sort of gotten sort of the grasp of it? Well, it's a very complicated environment. Perhaps unfortunately for new entrants, fortunately for us, because certainly a barrier to entry, there's huge complexity in navigating. And this is probably why brands cannot do it on their own. You need somebody that understands and is able to construct something within this ecosystem that really works and really fulfills the promise. So just to take you a little bit around this graph here, the purpose is try to simplify what is complicated. So it still looks a little bit complicated, but that's just the way it is, because there's a number of different parties participating here. So at the very center, you have the professional gaming. You need to be an esports organization to talk about gaming. That's really the core of it. But all around it, then you have huge environments and huge ecosystem beyond professional gaming and into the casual, the amateur, and the all gaming. You have technology, you have hardware, you have software, you have reviews, you have critiques, you have the best ways of becoming an esports pro player, the best way of becoming the tips for winning one of the biggest games, all sorts of different tournaments and participation. What are the new controllers like? What are the guys that are making fun of the different games and making reviews and gathering huge audiences in YouTube just to watch them play? There's a number of things happening in terms of those audiences that go well beyond professional gaming. And around those audiences, we have on the one side, on the bottom right side, you have all the different tournaments that the professional players are participating in. If you go a little bit above, you have Garena and Activision and all the guys that are really creating these sports, that are creating these games that become sports. Then you have up to your right, you have the different channels. And this is where all this content, all these tournaments, all these esports are fed into the audiences. Then up into your left, you have all the different teams that are competing here, the ones that have the teams, the pro players, the coaches, the assets, the digital content, the stories, the narratives, the drama. And those are fed through those tournaments, through those games, through those channels into the audiences that want to know more about them. Absolutely, you have in the bottom left, you have the different sponsors that also are creating their own tournaments of their own. And then to your left, you have all these different brands that want to be talking to these consumers. It used to be that you're looking at the HyperXs and the Intels and the NVIDIAs and the really gaming products that are talking to the specific gaming segment. But that's no longer the case. That's certainly no longer the case, as we have MasterCard and Xfinity and Nike and Coca-Cola, Louis Vuitton, Mondelez, Pringles, everybody is really joining in or at least the boldest ones that are ready to invest and make the jump, because it does really take a bold soul to go into esports without the right organizations to drive them through them. So again, a very complicated environment. There's the audience, there's the guys that want to consume it, but being able to deliver everything to everybody around this, to be able to make that connection, that's where it gets extremely complicated. And that's where we at Garra consider ourselves absolute experts. So let's talk a little bit about LATAM. So we discussed about gaming across the world, but let's talk specifically about LATAM. It's exactly 266 million gamers in Latin America. So it's a big region with a big audience. But not only is it a big region, but if you look to your left side, it's actually a super enthusiastic gaming audience. If you look there for PC, smartphone, games console, any device, if you look at any platform, people from Latin America are absolutely engaged, regardless of the platform, are much more engaged than when compared to people from many other regions. So if there's enthusiasm behind gaming across the world, the Latin Americans like myself are particularly interested in it. It's just that we haven't not yet been given the vehicles to be able to enjoy it and connect with it as we could. So let's talk about those vehicles. If you look at the right side, LATAM esports organizations that have an active gaming house operation, there's only 8 of those across all of Latin America. Only 8 have active gaming house operations. Only 5 esports organizations in Latin America have 2 or more teams. Why is this important? This sort of separates the organizations that only have 1 team. It's usually the gamer guy that is absolutely fantastic playing video games and sort of grew the organization and grew his team into an organization. So when you have 2 teams or more, then you know that it's it's a structure, a gaming structure, and not only a playing team. So anyway, there's only 5 of those across Latin America. Number of organizations that have over 500,000 followers, that's a total of 4 across Latin America. 3 have regional presence, so beyond one single country. 2 have a winning track record. 2 have non-endemic global sponsorships. So we're talking about all these non-endemic brands, the Mondelez and the Procter & Gamble's and the Mercedes-Benz and the BMWs. Well, in Mexico and Latin America, only 2 have those sorts of sponsorships. All the others either have specific gaming sponsors or have no sponsors at all. How many companies, how many organizations other than Garra have everything that I've noted today? Well, only 1 ticks all the different marks. So really a blank canvas for Garra Esports to be able to go out there and build something spectacular. So let's talk about the solution. As I mentioned, what do we want to build? And I'm hoping that this mission will now make much more sense than when I mentioned it right at the beginning. Now, we want to create the best known esports and gaming media organization in LATAM. Now, what do we want that esports and gaming media organization? Well, we need it to become the vessel, the vehicle for brands to engage with Gen Z, with these younger audiences. So what do you need? What do you need to be able to build that? Well, there's 4 things. First, you need to win. You need to have the championships. Nobody likes to follow the loser, maybe. I know that sounds harsh, but that's just the way it is, I guess. People like to follow the winning teams. So you need to win championships. You need to make sure that you have an esports organization that provides the structure necessary to win. Second one, you need the quality content. You need the drama, the narrative. You need to build the stories of the players, of the games, of the tournaments, of how everything was built from the beginning until the time that you held that cup above your head. And that quality content, when you have the best people at the audiovisual production team, then that really sets you apart from the get-go. Third one, you need social media growth. Well, you have all these assets, all these fantastic videos and photos and feeds. Now, you need to be able to deliver those at the right time to the right people. So we have our own Ignite digital media organization that helps us do that. And finally, you need the revenue growth. Something that I learned working 6 years with Electronic Arts, and it's sort of a mantra, is when you're in gaming, you need to know that you don't know about gaming. When you're in gaming, you need to know that you don't know about gaming. So what is that about? That's really about, you need to be ready to understand, to learn, to find new ways, to be flexible, to be dynamic. That is an absolute constant. The moment that you think that you know it all, that's the moment that you will start missing opportunities. And that's really the way that we see it. And that's really the way that people within the Garra team have been trained. We have been trained on knowing that we don't know much. And that really puts us up to be able to learn, to be able to take the opportunities and make them work and materialize them. So those are the key success factors. And we believe we are already set up to achieve them. Let's talk about very quickly about winning teams. The first component, the first critical factor. We already have 2 teams. So 2 teams are living at the house that you will tour in a few minutes. So one is Free Fire and one is FIFA 22. Free Fire, that's the largest game in terms of players and in terms of audience in Latin America is Free Fire. This is a mobile only game. And we already have Garra is the first place in Latin America. So last week, the season finished and the first team in Latin America is Garra. Next Saturday are the finals. So hopefully, wish us luck. Hopefully we will have the champion in 2021. But currently we have the first place in LATAM, at least for the regular season. Hopefully make sure to cheer for us in the playoffs. FIFA 22, we have hired the top player in Latin America and the 3rd player in Latin America. So FIFA 22 will be played in pairs, so 2 versus 2 modality. And we hired the 1st and the 3rd players. So we are surely hopeful that these guys will be able to win everything. FIFA is specifically an interesting opportunity because there's no other team living together. From all the different 2 versus 2 teams out there, we have the only team that is living together in the same training house. And they've been training over the last 2 months. There was no FIFA 22 over the last 2 months, but they've been working together to know each other, to understand each other, to understand their strengths and weaknesses. And hopefully that will put us apart and make us a winning team as well. Coming soon, League of Legends, Valorant, Counter-Strike, Fortnite, among some others. These are some of the teams that over the next few months we will also have within our roster. And considering the plans that we have and the agreements that we already have established, we should be having at least a couple of championships within these few teams in the biggest tournaments in Latin America for the specific IP. So anyway, looking already very good in terms of winning teams. In terms of bringing the solution together, creating the content and sending it out, well, sponsors and esports fans, when you put the 3 things together, we can offer the 360 gaming solution to everybody. What are some of the sponsorship opportunities that exist out there right now? It's not only about the branding on the jerseys for the teams. It is also about the product placement when you're talking about the gaming house and these guys being filmed day in and day out, when they have breakfast, when they go out, when they have fun, when they're studying, when you have product placement across a number of different opportunities. When you're talking about the gaming house, there's another number of branding opportunities. You can brand the house, brand the training centers, brand the computers, brand the activities that they're doing. So you can really put your brand out there. But not only that, our players, our coaches, they're becoming stars. They have huge followers of their own, and they are becoming ambassadors for all these different brands and sponsorships. So certainly a number of different things beyond just putting the name and giving that brand presence across the jerseys of our teams. There's a number of things that we can do for them and provide this 360 gaming solutions to them. Talking about the industry expertise and the opportunity to materialize revenue, I spoke a little bit about myself. We also have Sean. Sean is Australian, currently residing in Hong Kong. He's CEO of Talent Esports. He used to be MBA sort of classmate from Jorge and Marco during their MBA class. And they used to discuss a lot of esports. In one of those discussions, really Garra was born. But anyway, Sean is providing advisory all the way from Hong Kong. And knowing that everything over in Asia in terms of esports is well ahead of ourselves, then Sean is really able to provide that vision and to provide that insight into where things are going so we can capture that and make sure it's useful for us. We also have Jorge Lizarraga. You might have seen Jorge in the video that we included. He's our gaming advisor. He's CEO at Gaming Partners. And among the many number of things that Jorge has done, he launched the first gaming mass exhibition both in Mexico, Colombia, and Brazil. So the Brazil gaming show, the electronic gaming show in Mexico and Colombia, he was the one that organized it 20 years back. So this he goes a long way back. He's been my friend for a number of different years, and he's really an expert in everything that has to do with gaming in Latin America. Jorge is a gaming advisor for us. We're also joined on the capital markets and venture capital side. We're joined by Jorge Ramiro and Marco Roque as executive directors. I think most of you might know Jorge and Marco. Jorge is founder and managing director of Emerging Markets Capital, our host today. He's also CEO of Reina Silver. And as I said, he has an MBA from Hong Kong. So Jorge is really sort of the mastermind behind sort of the whole thing. And he's also in charge of making sure that in terms of capital, in terms of resources, and in terms of our ability to IPO next year, he sort of has responsibility. And Marco, who's also a member of EMC, he does play. He used to be a rugby player. He does play video games as well. He's been in the financial markets for a number of years, and well, he works really hand in hand with Jorge. And lastly, this is the last of the team members that I will introduce, is Bradley Horowitz. He's our innovation advisor. He's currently a VP product at Google. So Google has this innovation program for employees. Every employee is encouraged to create new ideas and present them and pitch them. Well, when they pitch them to this guy, to Bradley. And he's the one that will say, hey, your idea seems worthy, so you can leave your current job and just dedicate your time to your project. So he does that. He has a number of millions of dollars to be able to appoint to all these different projects. So as you can imagine, he really has a vision for what's innovation, what's really driving things and driving the consumer forward. And certainly that's something that he's collaborating with us as well, providing that vision, providing that insight that will allow us to keep at the forefront of thinking across things. So anyway, that's sort of the team. So last piece of it all, financials. And I will keep it very simple. You'll have access to these slides as you need to. In this table, we have a number of different esports organizations. We have some private, some public. We have the revenue and the valuation. Really, in terms of the multiples, revenue multiples, the average of the different esports companies is 13.7. So keep that number in your mind. 13.7 is the average multiplier of revenue for the valuation of esports companies, currently both public and private. What are we doing right now? We're raising Canadian 3 million at 1.5 times revenue, 1.5 times revenue. So the valuation of the company pre-money is 8.75 million. And if you look at the 2021 forecast, the forecast that we have in terms of revenue for this year is 5.8. So we're going to have revenue of 5.8 with a valuation of 8.7. That's really where the 1.5 multiplier is coming from. Now that is compared to the 13x revenue multiplier that esports companies are valued. So we're expecting a lot of upside for our shareholders, absolutely, and this is sort of why. Beyond the upside on what we're expecting, we are expecting to go IPO, to go public in April, May of 2022. We are about to start the IPO process in Canada. This will be in the Toronto Stock Exchange. So anyway, we are expecting to go out at a price of 1.5 per share. So the price of the shares that we are raising at this point in time in this round is 50 cents. We're expecting a valuation of 1.5 per share in our IPO April, May. Conservative estimates, perhaps 1.2 Canadian dollars per share. Again, lots of upside for our investors. Hopefully, you will not be necessarily interested in the upside in the short term. Hopefully, we will convince you to look at the upside in the medium and long term, where we believe that the benefits will be much greater as we build this referent esports organization and use it to connect brands with younger consumers. If you look at the left side, now that we discussed a little bit of the valuation and what is it that we're doing with the raise, you will look that there's the three companies there, Ignite, Garra, and the studio. So those three companies are there. But you will also see Target A and Target B. So we're currently running Target A, a due diligence process with Target A. That due diligence process will finish on the 27th of October. So we have roughly a week more to go before that due diligence process is finished. So we're acquiring Target A. Target A is another esports company. You know, I discussed roughly about what esports companies sort of are doing around Latin America. So let's suffice to say at this point in time that we know exactly what we're buying, and rather than waiting 18, maybe 24 months to ourselves build the organization and build the audience, suffice to say that we will go for it and we will buy it now, and we'll have our own organization with a number of different teams well beyond the two that we already have together. And then we have Target B. I cannot say much about Target B, but this company is dedicated at building services around esports. So whether it's tournaments, whether it's advertising, whether it's consulting, so anything from a company perspective that you want to do in terms of understanding the market, executing experiences, tournaments, digital events, influencers, this company is doing everything around there. So when you think about it, how does it fit into our model? Well, Target A will just make sure that we are very quickly a very large esports company, and then Target B will sort of complete the circle, the cycle of services that we can provide to our sponsors. So that's roughly what we're expecting between all these five companies, 5.8 million Canadian for a valuation of 8.57 at this point in time. We're raising 3 million Canadian, and that's the invitation for you guys. Lastly, capital structure. We started with 0.4 million Canadian. Everything is Canadian dollars. Our current share count stands at 17.5. We will acquire Target A and Target B, half with, well, not half, but partly with cash and partly with paper. So you can see there some more 1 million and 4.4 million shares being raised, being issued to buy these two companies. We're raising 3 million Canadian, that's at 50 cents each. So that's another 6 million shares been issued. The pre-IPO acquisition cash costs come up to Canadian 1.2. The pre-money valuation, 42 million. The IPO raise Canada at the value of 8.25, that's 1.5 Canadian dollars per share. That's 5.5 million additional shares for a total share count of 34.5 million shares and a market cap of 1.5 at 1.5 per share of total 50 million Canadian. So that's roughly the capital structure and our way into the IPO, as I mentioned, for April, May, and are part of the plan. So anyway, that's about it. That's what we're doing. So I will invite you to join our house and see what we're doing over in Mexico City. It should take about 3-4 minutes, and then we will come back for questions and answers. Hope you enjoy this.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Garra's house tour. I am Joshua Esquivel. I am Esports Director for Garra Esports. Come with me. I'm going to show you our headquarters right here in Mexico City. This first plant is where we produce every single clip, every single video, every single story, and every graphic for our esports team. This is our lounge. Here is where all the people come here, talk about how we're going to do, how we're going to take all this information, how we're going to take the interaction with our fans. And this is our production area. Here is where all our team edit the videos, edit the audio, edit everything. Let's go to the second floor. There is where our teams are. So come with me. Super. So, in this place is where our team is trained every single day, every single morning. This is our FIFA Esports team. So, we're gonna meet Henry and Leo. They're our two players for FIFA. They're playing actually. Our FIFA team prepares mainly for the international competitions, which are FIFA E-Club World Cup, FIFA 21 World Series, and for the national competitions, we prepare for the E-Liga, in which each of our players plays representing a national club and is considered the most important national tournament. There is Henry, Leo. Thank you so much for being here and training with us. Let's go to the Free Fire area. This is the Free Fire area. There are Vega, Chris, and Professor. They're our team for Free Fire. We are actually top 1 regular season in Free Fire League. And yeah, we're playing the finals next Sunday. Yeah, in this area is where we analyze our rivals, our plays. We prepare what we're going to do in the game, how we're going to play the next time. And yeah, these guys train since 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Then they return to this area, train from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock. That's actually how we train in this gaming house. Our players have a first level preparation, which includes a coach and analyst for per team, a mental coach to maintain the psychological balance within the game. We also got a fitness coach that helps to have physical activity for a better performance in the game. The last thing we got, and I think is very important too, we got a personalized meal plan to have a balance in all the areas. So yes guys, hopefully you enjoyed this house tour. I'm so excited to show this to you, and yeah, see you.
So there you go. That's our gaming house back in Mexico City with the FIFA team and the Free Fire teams. So anyway, thanks very much for the time. It's an incredible opportunity now to join the gaming arena, the gaming industry in Latin America, and join on some of this growth. We at Garra have the team, have the expertise to be able, and we understand the market to be able to produce the right solutions for this big problem, how to talk to the young audience. Thanks very much for joining, and thank you very much for your attention. Adina, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Roberto. That was really a fantastic presentation. I really enjoyed that. We have some questions. So first, how risky is losing players to other teams?
So happy to talk about that. To be honest, we're very lucky at this point in time in Garra. The environment currently is such in Latin America that there are no many professional teams. So players are looking for organizations where they can feel safe, where they know that they can build their career, where they know that they can continue to do their studies or whatever that they're doing, whatever it is that they're doing beyond gaming, and at the same time be training with the right people, with the experts, with the right places, with the right motivation, with the right pricing, etc. So to be honest, it hasn't been difficult to get the talent, and currently we have much more people lining up to be able to join Garra than people wanting to leave. So unfortunately, really for the players, but fortunately for us, the environment right now presents a big opportunity for Garra to take on a lot of this talent without really having to pay super money for them. It's just about providing the right environment for them.
Great. Another question. Can you please share some details on competitors there?
I discussed a little bit of it in one of my slides. So there's a number of organizations happening. And truly, if you go into sort of the LATAM esports world, there's only a couple of them that will have sort of a decent structure. One of them is Isurus, and one of them is Infinity. These two organizations are sort of taking care of themselves. They have a number of different teams participating. They have a good track record. Yeah, so they have good players. One of them, Isurus, is still lacking lots of sponsorships. So they're still not making money, as I understand it. I'm not an expert on their financials. But there's really these two teams. Now, again, one of them really lacking still the finance of it. We do understand they have big investors that are pushing their money around, and they've been doing it for a while. We believe that that's not the right thing to do. We do not want our investors to be funding our esports forever. We want our investors to be funding expansion into other regions and into other games, not necessarily sort of financing the operation. We understand that's the story behind the Surus, and they do not have the sponsorships for us to believe otherwise. And then we have Infinity, which are the sort of current leaders. They do have some non-endemic brands sponsoring them, and that's really the two of them that strike my mind. Outside of them, there's really not much in the whole of Latin America. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Another question we have regarding the financing round. So are you raising in Canadian dollars? What currency and are expenses for Garra? And what is the currency to pay for target A and target B?
Yeah, so currency. Yeah, we're raising Canadian dollars. Most of our expenses, I would say about 75% of our expenses are coming in Mexican pesos. A little bit of, yeah, mostly Mexican pesos, because most of our operation is in Mexico. Most of Latin America is sort of going back into Mexico. That's sort of the hub for Latin America. That's where League of Legends has their hub, and that's where the tournaments and all the teams are. Same thing is happening with Free Fire. So most tournaments have their environment in Mexico. So most of our expenses are in Mexican pesos. Some of it in Argentinian peso, Chilean peso, a couple bit and little bits and pieces, but the largest chunk is Mexican peso. The other 25% of our expenses are Canadian dollars, and that's just because we're spending in things like brand registrations, and some of the teams we're paying out from Canada. So some of the contracts that we are creating are coming in Canadian pesos. So the other 25% of our expenditure of our OPEX is coming out of Canada in Canadian dollars. If I'm not mistaken, the last question was about what's the currency that we are buying the two companies in. One of them is Canadian dollars, so all the negotiations have been agreed on Canadian dollars just to make it match. The other one, the one that is most advanced, the one that we are already sort of the due diligence process about to close, that's in US dollars. So yeah, one of the purchases US dollars, the other acquisition Canadian. 75% of our OPEX is local Latin American currencies, 25% Canadian.
Right, and the next question is about the IPO. Why the rush to IPO, and why did you pick Toronto?
Behind the rush, we do believe there's huge appetite right now for esports. We have spoken to a number of different people, and ourselves have sort of different thoughts about it. Some of us feel very confident about the esports appetite, not only keeping the same, but really continue to grow into the future. Some people are still concerned about, well, I'm not really sure whether this appetite and the huge 13.7 average multiplier will continue for a long time. So whether it is one way or the other, we want to make sure that we jump in and we jump quickly to make sure that we capture this appetite up front. If it continues to grow, and I'm right about that, then we will certainly enjoy it as a public company, but we don't want to miss the opportunity to do it. Now, why do it in Toronto? We just, so the company has was created just a few months back, maybe 6-7 months back. And if you look at, so we had 3 different opportunities or 3 different options to go in terms of where to list the company. So the first one was Latin America. And really, that's not the right opportunity, plainly because you cannot go public in Latin America in less than 2-3 years. So it's a fairly complicated process. So if you wanted to list the company in Mexico, that would take at least a couple of years. And similar thing would happen in Argentina, Brazil, anywhere else in Latin America. So in terms of timing, Latin America didn't provide the right structure. Then the second alternative would have been the US. But really, for an IPO such as this one, with the size of this one, really NASDAQ is just expecting much bigger numbers and much bigger companies. So perhaps in terms of size, we were not right for NASDAQ or the US stock market. The third and last alternative was is Canada, and that's the one we chose for because it's easy, it's simple. To be honest, because Jorge and Marco feel very comfortable. They've been listing companies in Canada for a while now, very successfully creating IPOs. So it really came as the easiest and simplest answer of them all. We can do it right. We can do it quickly. There's appetite, and we know how to navigate it.
Thank you. Roberto, we're running a little bit over time, but we have a couple of questions. So if you don't mind, first one is also related to IPO. Why round an IPO valuation so far below the 13 times revenue?
Well, we want to make sure that we can give upside to our investors early on. Once we embark on this, we want to make sure that we have the right people with us. There's huge opportunities across the market, huge opportunities. We're talking about 3 million right now. Hopefully IPO, we're talking about an extra 6, maybe 10, 15, I would say. There's huge opportunity. We're running a little bit on a tight time frame. So anyway, we want our investors to be comfortable, to feel happy about investing with us, and hopefully continue to be with us for a long time and continue to invest with Garra. So yeah, we're happy to provide this upside right now.
Wonderful. So yes, I guess that's it. Thank you very much, Roberto. That was really insightful presentation. And all the attendees, thank you for joining the webinar. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me at adina@emarcap.com. And also we'll follow up with the question we spoke about just now. Thank you.